the basics of SketchUp. Oh, I guess I should start
Sorry.
over. I'm just gonna go over showing you guys this very generic ride cart to see some of the basics of SketchUp and how that works. And I'm hoping, if there's time, showing you how to apply materials as well. And then I also, if I can click, just wanted to go over a few points of why SketchUp would be beneficial to learn right now. As Al and I were just talking, it's a job description requirement, almost anything in the industry right now, and it's very good for creating fast concepts. I know several of us used it for the Monon 30 event that recently happened, and like this rendering to the right was even one I used for the land design last semester. So it's just an easy way to create a really realistic looking space and get a good idea of what it's going to feel like or look like. And how you can get it, you can download the educational license. It is unfortunately one of the softwares that IU does not give students for free, but you can get a discounted educational license for $50 a year. I know that's a little steep for students, but I do think it's worth it because with the downloaded version, you can add downloaded content like rendering software where you get the more professional, realistic looking renders. But if you don't want to spring for that, or maybe just try it out, you can use a free browser, which I posted in the first announcement for this event on campus. So we'll go ahead and hop into the SketchUp. Okay, so when you open SketchUp, you're gonna get this screen, it asks you what sort of template you want to use. I usually always go for architectural in inches. It doesn't really matter. You can choose simple inches. Just make sure you choose inches, otherwise you're gonna get into the metric system. Apparently it's loading.
I was talking to someone else today about SketchUp, and I thought I would just mention this. He and I are both on Macs, so if you use a Mac, I highly recommend getting a 3-button mouse. If you're on a Windows machine, that's probably not an issue, but it makes it a whole lot easier.
Yeah, in general, Macs tend not to be super software friendly, which is unfortunate, but 3-button mouse is definitely going to help you out with this system. So just to go over the toggling of how you move around, basically your scroll wheel is zooming in and out. You also click in on your scroll wheel, and that allows you to rotate around the axes or the object you're modeling. And then if you hold down Shift and your scroll wheel, you will be able to pan and just sort of go down the line. So I'm going to start with drawing a circle. You'll find that underneath the shapes and go down to circle. And then I usually just always start at the intersection of the axes. So green and red are basically X and Y axes, and then the blue going down the center is a Z axis. So click to start your circle. And then if you see down in the bottom right-hand corner of my screen, there's like dimensions moving back and forth. So you can type. So I'm going to go ahead and just type a 5 feet radius. And then I'm actually going to only use half of this circle for now, and that will actually save you time later in the game. So I drew the line using the line tool, and then it should snap to like your midpoints. It'll usually turn blue or green, and then you'll know you're drawing a straight line if it lights up green or lights up red. And if you're having trouble snapping to those axes, you can like hold shift and it will lock it to 1 so that you know you're drawing that straight line. So anyway, draw that line down in the center, and then you can either go to Tools and Eraser or just click E on your keyboard. And I'm just going to go ahead and erase 1/2 of that. So now I'm going to move on to the measure tool. It just looks like that little tape measure. And I'm going to again snap onto this midpoint, should light up green. And then I'm going to type again 18 inches. And then snapping onto the endpoint of that measure, I'm going to type one more time, 3 feet. And then I'm just going to measure both of these vertically out as well. Again, they should light up red, so you know that they're straight. Okay, then I'm going to select the line tool again. And I'm actually just going to start from these guide points because it can be tricky sometimes to draw a true straight line on a circle. That's why I chose to do the measuring tool just as an extra precaution. But drawing that line out, making sure it's red. And same thing on this one. And then you can just clean up the edges by pressing E again on your keyboard, bringing up that eraser, and clearing those all off. If you want to delete the extra measurements I did in the center, you can click on them and press delete on your keyboard. Okay, so moving on to probably the most important tool in SketchUp is the push-pull tool. It looks like this little rectangle with an arrow going up. I'm going to select that. Basically, what the push-pull tool does is allows you to immediately expand or pull down any surface. So I'm going to pull this surface up, and I'm going to make it 42 inches. And then this other surface in the back, I'm going to do the same thing again, pulling up, and going to do 50 inches. Now you can do, if you say you wanted to make these the same height, you could just double click and it would like make, well, that made it 50 again because that's the last thing I did. But basically double clicking will make it the same height. You just made something else. And then the center surface, I am going to go in and we're just going to do 7 inches. That's the part of the cart that people would be stepping up onto. And 7 inches is usually like the max depth a person can physically step up. All right. Now we're going to do measuring one more time. So back to my little tape measure tool. Again, snapping to the midpoint, it should light up that blue or green color. And this time I'm going to create this guide. I don't know why it automatically creates a guide from this midpoint. It was doing this earlier too. But I'm going to do that at 24 inches out. And then drawing one more straight line across here. Going to again select and delete this measure. And back to the push-pull tool. And then this will actually be 21 inches further up as well for the seats. Okay, so what we're gonna do now is make this base of the right part a component. So if you see on the right-hand side of my screen, there is this thing called outliner. And this is really important if you're building like a giant model on SketchUp, because SketchUp is very slow. So you need to use it like Photoshop or AutoCAD, where you have layers of things that you can turn off. Components are also important because if I was to draw a line on this and then be like, oh, I don't want that rectangle there. I want it further back. Well, if I try to move this now, it's going to move all the geometry with it, which gets really funky looking. So, undo that. If you make it a component, so you want to select all of it, just dragging your mouse and creating a box. And then you will right click, make component. It'll ask you if you want to name it. I'm just going to name it 1/2 ride cart. And now if I draw anything on this, it's not going to be connected to that piece. So now I can move this line independently without messing anything up. And you also can see that this 1/2 of ride cart is now in my outliner. So you can just toggle that on and off as you're working, which again is really important if you're building a giant SketchUp model, which we're not, but good information to know. I am going to check, okay, yes. So sometimes when you push pull things, the base gets a little construed. So what I just did is I just clicked into the component. You'll just click it and it will highlight it as a component and you can double click into it. And then sometimes all you need to do to make this solid is just draw an extra line. So using my line tool, I'm going to do that as well. And then yeah, now we have a solid base to work with. Okay, so I'm actually going to move on to a seat now. If someone's like trying to follow along and I'm going extremely fast, please stop me. But okay, so I'm actually going to select the rectangle tool, which is under shapes, again, where we got the circle and rectangle, or you can just press R on your keyboard as well. And I'm going to again start from this axis just because it's easier. And then again, looking down at the dimensions in the right hand corner, I'm going to type 2 feet, comma, 2 feet. So that should make a 2-foot square. And then I'm just going to select this and move it down so it's not so close to that ride cart. Okay, so again, probably the most important tool, push pull. We're just going to raise this up 2 inches, typing that in. And then we want this to have a back as well, which I believe the back was almost 2 feet. Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and type 2 inches again. I just selected my line tool and then went to this corner. And I'm just going to go 2 inches down this line. And then down this way. So we now have another face for the back. Push pull again. And then pull that up, I believe 1 foot 10 inches. Yes, okay. All right, so just to give this a little more depth, you can create curved surfaces on SketchUp. It is a little bit trickier, but I'm going to show you how to add basically like a curve to this seat down here and then up at the top. So you will select the arc tool. I pretty much always choose 2-point arc or 3-point arc. I do not recommend the regular arc tool. It's just complicated. There's like a protractor involved. But so starting with just the 2-point arc tool, I'm going to select this bottom corner of the seat. And then you can just go anywhere up on this line. I'm just going to go there. And then make sure as you're pulling your radius up that it says on face. So if it has this little blue diamond, that means it's on the face of the seat we're drawing. So go ahead and click that. And now this piece has become its own face, its own shape. So select that just by clicking into this face. You should see all the little blue dots all over it to know it's selected. And then I'm going to go to the Tools drop-down menu and down to this tool that's called Follow Me. With the Follow Me tool, you'll select the face. And okay, that did that instantly. Hold on. Sometimes it will do it like that, but other times you have to select this face, yes, and then trace along the edge you're actually wanting that arc to follow. So I want that whole bottom edge to be curved. And then now you've kind of sculpted out a little more detail into this seat for the ride. So I'm just going to repeat the same thing at the top. Again, selecting the 2-point arc, the corner of the chair, and then just wherever you feel like down this line. Again, making sure it's on face. Tools drop down. Follow Me tool. Select your curved face, and then trace along the line you would like it to follow. Okay, so now we have a little cushion for our seats. And I'm also going to make this a component. So select it all just by drawing a rectangle with your mouse. Right click, make component. I will just name this ride seat. Okay. Now I'm going to move the component. So using the move tool, which are these 4 arrows. And I'm just going to select this bottom corner and then move that onto our ride cart. To copy and paste on SketchUp, you will stay on the move tool and select whatever corner you want to be your base point. So now I'm moving it. But if I hit Control, it'll automatically copy that over. And then I can put that on that corner of the cart as well. Then I'm going to do the same thing, trying to select the center point. Control, then put one in the middle here as well. Okay. And then I'm actually going to move these 2 end seats in 6 inches. So again, you can just use the move tool, grab a corner and type in 6 inches, just so whoever's sitting there is not right on the edge of that cart. I'm going to go ahead, because this is not the height I was thinking, so we can click into our ride cart component. Again, that's just a double click. And I'm going to pull this backside up a little bit just so it's the same height as these seats. So looks like maybe it's 2 inches higher. Yes. Okay. The next thing we need are wheels. So again, I'm just going to start on the axis. Go to your shapes, circle. You're going to want to make sure you're pretty like flat facing to get the upright circle. And then I'm just going to make the radius of this circle 4 inches. Then since our ride cart is a component, we should be able to move that circle away from it without messing anything up. So now, to add a little more detail to this wheel, I'm going to use the offset tool. The offset tool is this arrow with 2 circles in it basically. And what this does is it takes any face you select and you can move it in and out. So I'm just going to say to offset this 1 inch. And then same thing as push pull, you can double click to do the exact same command again. So on this interface, I'm just going to double click and it will offset it exactly 1 inch again for me one more time. Now I'm just going to go back to push pull, use the wheel, get a little thickness, go out maybe 3 inches. And then you can grab another circle. I wouldn't go as far out. I'll just do 2.5 inches. And then for the center, I went back to 3 inches. So that's pretty much all I did for the wheel. Obviously, this would be a part that we might be getting from like engineers, so they might have more detail on how this should look or what parts exactly are combined. But for the sake of what we're doing, this is fine. So I'm just making this a component as well, selecting it with a box, right click, make component. Just gonna call it wheel. And now we have that element to add as well. I'm gonna go ahead and rotate it sort of at an angle. So rotate, it's just the 2 arrows in a circle up on your toolbar. And you're gonna wanna make sure that your compass protractor thingy is blue to rotate it on the correct axis. And then just however much you want it to rotate out, basically. Now I'm going to move this. So again, those 4 arrows, selecting a corner of our component. And then I can go underneath the ride car and place it wherever I would like on the face. And then to get one more, just staying on the move tool, selecting a corner again, hitting Control for copy. And I'm actually just going to move it out because I want it to rotate the other direction. So rotate again, the 2 arrows in a circle, making sure my compass is blue, then rotating it more at that angle. Move again, select a corner of your component, and then dragging it to the face of the ride vehicle. Okay. So the last thing I added to this was just some sort of safety precaution so this person doesn't fall off. Obviously, if you wanted to go and make this more detailed, you could with a safety bar here or something. But I'm going to select our rectangle tool again. So again, that's under shapes where the circle is, rectangle, or you can just press R on your keyboard. And I'm just going to go in here somewhere, start drawing, and then type in 2 inches, comma, 2 inches. Why is it not? Hold on. Okay, 2 inches, comma, 2 inches, just making that a perfect square. Then we can use push-pull on that again. So your rectangle with an arrow going upwards. I'm gonna go out 10 inches. And then rotate to kind of look under that piece a little bit. Select my line tool. I'm going to draw one down this line, another 2 inches, and then select that endpoint to create another square here. And then selecting push-pull one more time to drag that all the way down to the ride vehicle. Then this will be our last component. So drawing a rectangle one more time to select, right-clicking, make component, and I'll just call this safety. And then just so we're even, you can again select the move tool, grab a corner of your piece, press Control to copy, and move that down the line. Okay. So now that we have all these components that make up one half of the ride vehicle, we can now make this a group. So basically, an easy way to explain components and a group is a leg would be a component of a table, but the whole table would be a group. So all of these pieces or components of the ride cart together will now make a group. So you can select all of the components by, again, selecting with a rectangle, dragging your mouse. They should all be highlighted. You can even select them from the outliner if you'd like to. And then right click and you can hit make group. The groups you will have to name over in the outliner. So if I double click where it says group, I can name this final half. And now these can all move together without having to select all of those pieces every single time I want to move that somewhere. And now that we have a whole group of one half of the ride car, this is what's really great about SketchUp and creating symmetrical pieces is that you only have to create half of them because now we can select the move tool, grab a corner of our group, hit Control, and just copy that down the line. If we go to rotate and make sure we have that blue compass, rotate this 180 degrees, and then align it up with our other half, we now have a hole. So that's pretty much it as far as the construction of the ride cart goes. If you want to apply materials, you can go to your right-hand side of your screen, and there should be a drop down for materials. If you don't have any of these things that I have on the right side, you can go to window and default tray and then select the things you want. So this is where I have selected materials, outliner where you can see your components and groups and other things that you might need. So as I was saying, SketchUp does have some preloaded materials. They're just not the best. Like they're good quality materials. They look realistic, but you're not going to have a lot of variety. Like for metals, this is all they have. They also just have solid colors if you just want a concept quickly and you just know you want this to be purple, then you can just make it purple without having any real detail. For the picture that I had for the welcome screen, I actually went to the 3D warehouse, which the 3D warehouse is an extension of SketchUp. You should have access to it through the free browser, but you will basically go up to where it says window and then select 3D warehouse. So in the 3D warehouse, you can find, like, I use it a lot in my classes, interior design, because they have pre-made couches or lamps or something. So I don't have to like hand model everything that I'm putting into a space. But you also can grab materials here. So for example, for the ride cart I showed, I just searched green metal. And then if you find a metal you like, so there's some of these that are specifically materials, and maybe you want the metal off of this pendant. It doesn't matter, but you're just gonna have to click into it. Don't hit this download button because that's just gonna like load a model into your file, if that makes sense. But if we just click on it and then scroll down and go to see more details, you can click where it says materials. It should say that at the top of the model information. And then download that material specifically. And now this is over in my materials library. So I can click on this to grab it. It'll automatically make it a paint bucket tool for you. And since everything is already grouped together, I think if I click this, it'll just make everything green metal, which I don't want, but let's see, yes. So you're gonna have to click into your model, well, your group. So again, double click. And now if I just want the actual cart part to be green, it should change, yes. Then doing that again for the other side. So really, if you wanted to, you could have already applied all the materials to just this one half and then copied it. So you only had to do all this material applying once also. And one thing to note about components is if you change, like if I changed the height of this safety bar, it changes all of them at the same time. But it won't do that unless you're clicked into it. So if you wanted to click into a component and then apply a color, then it would make everything that color. But it only does that if you're fully clicked into the component. Okay. For those safety bars, I believe I just used the preloaded aluminum. So under metal in this drop down, it's the first metal they show. And I did that again. Make sure you click into your group, then apply the aluminum to the safety bars. I'm also just going to go ahead and use this for the center of our ride wheels. And for the wheels, I actually am just going to go ahead and completely click into the component. So double click on this wheel again. That way it changes all of them and you're not having to do 4 wheels all at once. Okay. So now for your seats, if you want some sort of leather, I believe I showed like black and pink on the one I pulled up before. So again, if you go to your window, 3D warehouse, and let's just say you want pink leather for some reason, you can type that in. That couch looks pretty good to me. Again, scrolling down to see more details. Materials underneath the model information. And then make sure you're downloading the one that's like a full picture of material. And then we're going to click into our group and then paint each one of these cushions. Okay. And then just to finish off these wheels, you may want some sort of black rubber or something. So we'll look for that also, going to window in the 3D warehouse, typing in black rubber. I will take it from this rubber cap, sure. See more details, materials, if it loads. Okay, maybe not this one. That's okay. We can hit the back arrow. Let's go to models. I'll take it from this wheel. see more details. Materials. Wow, it really doesn't want me to have rubber. Okay, new plan. I'm just gonna make it colors because it's just a wheel. So going to the preloaded materials, dropping down into colors, or you can do colors named. They're the exact same thing, but named just tells you the color instead of being like color 0038 like that, but it'll say orange also. So anyway, scroll all the way down to the bottom and you should see a black. Again, I'm gonna click into completely into the wheel. So double clicking, selecting black, doing the outside of that. And then maybe I make that other circle a slightly lighter gray. So now you have a little more detail on the wheels. They should all four look like that. Yeah. And that's pretty much all I have for basics. We could get into how to animate in SketchUp. If there's any interest in that.
I think that is great. Yeah, does anybody want to look at the how to animate or?
I would. Mhm.
Right. Hopefully I remember it well. I've done it a couple
Cool.
times. So I believe what you do is get the view how you want it. So I'm just going to say I want it like this. And go over to scenes. Again, if you don't have scenes on this right-hand side, you'll have to add it from tools, or sorry, Windows, and then selecting it from the default tray. So you can select scenes, uncheck it. Now I have to put it back, but okay. So underneath the scenes tab, there's a add scene, remove scene. So once you have it at the view you want, you can hit add scene. And then you need at least 2 scenes to make it play an animation. I'm going to go ahead and do 3 just so it's not super quick. But I'll just do the other side of the cart here. Add scene. And then one of the back side. Add scene. Then I believe what you do is go to either camera or view. Okay, it's view. So go to view. And then at the very bottom, you'll see animation. And you can just hit play. I'm actually going to go ahead and go into the settings just so you can see what that looks like. So on the settings, you can see enable scene transitions. So that basically means it's going to automatically animate for you between the scenes you've captured. And then 2 seconds is how long it's going to take to transition. So since I only have 3 scenes, I'm probably going to go ahead and make that more like 3 seconds, just so we don't go by super fast. Scene delay, I don't recommend putting it higher than 2, just because you'll start to get really like stuck and then move, stuck and then move. Okay, so now that we've messed with that, I'm going to go back to view and animation and just hit play. And it should start to move for me. That's basically it. It's very simple, very effective. I used it. Oh, how do I make it stop? We're gonna get dizzy.
Go over to the, yeah.
Okay, thank you. I have used it for a couple classes. I also used it for last semester, the land building class. I did like a high concept fly through of our park. So again, it's just a program that's really great for doing quick and simple things like that, just to get a little more of a visual idea. for whoever you're pitching to or trying to sell an idea to. And if there's any questions about what I went through today, or if there's something specific you want to see me try and make, or if you have questions, I'm happy to answer those now.
That was a really good tutorial. I have never used this app. This is my first time. So I just got on here and I was like just messing with it. But I'm definitely gonna rewatch the video to like form the
Yes.
shape.
Yeah, I'm glad that you enjoyed it. And I think it'll be good for you to rewatch and maybe kind of stop and play around a little bit. So
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks, Kara.
yeah,
A nice job.
Once we're done, I will get the video processing and get it uploaded to YouTube. So we should be able to send a link out sometime tomorrow, late morning or early afternoon. So yeah, definitely check that out. SketchUp also has quite a few tutorials on their YouTube channel. So once you get through this, you know, there's tons of stuff to explore. It's a pretty cool app. Also, I'll go ahead and stop recording unless anyone has any questions. Then we'll. Okay.